is going on, Knicks fans? My name is Vigo Sports Talk, host of Vigo Talks Knicks. In today's episode, I'll be talking about Knicks versus Sixers series and who will be now facing in the Eastern Conference NBA playoffs, the Cleveland Cavaliers. First of all, you gotta give shout out to the New York Knicks. You know, people were counting us out when we were down 1-2 to the Atlanta Hawks. They were calling us frauds. They're saying we're first on exits. They're going to see us in Cancun. And ever since that moment, ever since we lost in Game 3, and people lost hope, I never lost hope. I kept trying to tell y'all. They were laughing at me when I said it. They're going to answer back from this. I know the Knicks. I've watched every game this year. And one thing they never do is give up. They could be down 30 points, and they will never give up. I can promise you that. And the main reason why, you may be asking, what led to the Knicks going undefeated since Game 3, by the way? We have not lost. We have one of the best records in the playoffs and one of the best offenses and defenses in the entire NBA in the NBA playoffs. And the reason for that is Karl-Anthony Towns. Ever since Game 3, first of all, the Knicks offense, we all know it's predictable. Jalen Brunson had the ball almost every possession. Not almost every, literally every possession. So teams, they know what the Knicks are going to do. They know what they're going to do. So there had to be a change. Cat went to Mike Brown and said, let me run the offense. And people would look at him crazy if you hear him, because they look at Cat and be like, he's never had more than 5 assists in a playoff game. But ever since that moment, he's had 10 assists in 3 playoff games. 2 of those were triple doubles. He could play make. And honestly, I feel like he's the number 1 player in the NBA. Or you could argue either Victor Wembanyama, I don't know, Evan Mobley, and basically any tall dude is 7 foot. But something about Cat, they just can't guard him, no matter who it is, no matter who you put on him. He's gonna find a way to pass the ball to somebody, or he's gonna score himself. So huge shout out to Karl-Anthony Towns, who's been honestly it's hard to say the second best player in the playoffs for the Knicks, because OG Anunoby, he's been huge. He was unfortunately hurt games 3 and 4. But in those first 2 games, and even the Atlanta series, he was phenomenal. Shooting nearly 60% from 3, rebounding very well, averaging 20 points, locking down every player he's going against. He's doing it all. And if he's the number 1 option, he will be playing like a 2019 Raptors Kawhi Leonard. But Brunson's on the team, Cat's on the team, so it's hard to average 20 points. So honestly, shout out to him. He's amazing. So hopefully he will be back game 1 for the Eastern Conference Finals. But before I get into that, I gotta talk about the Knicks versus Philly series. Starting with Jalen Brunson, of course, he was phenomenal, averaging 30 points. You know how he played versus Philly. And they trying to count us out. They thought Philly was gonna beat us. Yeah, they beat Boston. They came back when they were down 3-1. They were counting us already, and that's the story for the New York Knicks. No matter who we face, no matter how good we play, they're still going to play. Oh, I think they're not built for this. They always doubt us, but we always prove them wrong. We always do it. No matter who we play, they're going to count us out. And the day Jalen Brunson and the Knicks win the championship, they're going to realize the type of team we are. And Brunson will finally get his respect. Even though I consider him a top 10 NBA player right now. And honestly, a top 3 player in the playoffs, if you ask me. But people aren't ready for that. So yeah, let's get back to the series. So Cat was huge. OG, the bench, especially in games 3 and 4, very huge. Knicks fans took over Philly. That's why we swept them. They played a huge part in that playoff series, bringing that energy. That dunk on Embiid, Mitchell Robinson getting his get back from a few years ago. That got me hyped. And we haven't played a game in more than a week. And now this upcoming Tuesday, they will be playing their first playoff game since that series. And so to beat the Cavaliers, so honestly, a shout out to the Cavaliers. They're a great team. And honestly, they got a few players that could guard Karl-Anthony Towns. You could argue Dean Wade, they can match his size. He's a good defender. Evan Mobley, he won Defense Player of the Year last year. Jared Allen, they got Keon Ellis. He's a smaller guy, but he can defend. He don't get playing time. But they got a bunch of dudes who can guard. So it will be a tough matchup. I will admit that. And this could honestly go to 6 games. The Cavaliers, they're coming off 2 series where they played game sevens. 2 series, yeah. They're then going to the playoff series, tired. But the Knicks, they might come in a little rusty. They haven't played against a playoff team in more than a week, so they gotta go back to that playoff mode that they were. And if they keep the offense just like this, dominating teams, blowing them out, no, our starters not playing the fourth quarter, the league is in trouble. The league is in trouble. I'm telling you guys, ever since that moment, since game 3, when Cat took over the offense, handling the ball, he get a playmake. The Knicks are a much different team. So, first of all, to beat the Cavaliers, the number one thing he must do, and I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about, James Harden. First of all, obviously James Harden, he got argued as the top 10 scorer in NBA history. But the one issue he always had since the day he was drafted, turnovers. Especially in his playoff series between him and Cade Cunningham, they just kept turning the ball over. And for the Knicks defense, if they can force James Harden's turnovers to points, that could be very huge. You just gotta trap James Harden because he's gonna ball hog. He could play make, but if he trap James Harden, he's gonna force to pass the ball. And we get a steal. And Donovan Mitchell, because Donovan Mitchell, he's a great player, he can score, but he can't play make. He's a shooting guard. He's not no point guard. Let's get that straight. So take James Harden out, done. And obviously Evan Mobley, you gotta stop him. You gotta put Mitchell Robinson on him and Jared Allen. And depending who's the small forward, because on some games it's Dean Wade or it could be Max Strus. Those two can really defend. Dean Wade he's a much taller dude. I'm pretty sure he guards Jalen Brunson a lot, but so does Max Strus. And Strus is a really good 3-point shooter. So, and then bench too, Sam Merrill, Dennis Schroeder. You don't know what we're gonna get from Dennis Schroeder. So I'm not gonna say too much, but he's a solid role player on almost every team. So I'm not gonna say nothing about him pretty much. But for a team that struggles to guard at 3, we need to focus on players like Sam Merrill, Max Strus, and James Harden too. I don't know his stats for this playoff series, but I know he's averaging 20 points. He came off a pretty bad game versus the Pistons in Game 7. Even though they won the game, he was horrible. And that's how the Cavs won, because when one player plays bad, teams usually panic. Like Cade Cunningham. In the elimination game, he had 13 points. Win or go home. And he dropped 13 points. I remember they were saying Cade Cunningham was better than Jalen Brunson. Obviously, I stand by this. I'm taking Jalen Brunson any day. Jalen Brunson, in 3 or 4 years, he's done way more for the New York Knicks. He's brought his team to the Eastern Conference Finals twice. He brought his team to the second round twice. And this is the Pistons' first playoff series win since 2008, when I was 1 year old. Think about that. And they just won a playoff win. They just won a playoff game last season. So just think about that. The last time he won a playoff series, besides this year, I was 1 year old. So put respect on Jalen Brunson. He hit that game winner. He's phenomenal. He's 6'1". He's 6'2". He leads the NBA in paint paint and scoring the paint for a guy at 6'2". You got to give him respect. I'm telling you, the day this guy wins a championship for the New York Knicks since 1973, people will finally realize Jalen Brunson, he's a top 5 player, a top 10 player. You're gonna realize that, and y'all not ready for that. I hate this. I hate talking about this because Brunson, he's phenomenal. People act like people look at the box score. People look at the Knicks and be like, oh, they're just the average team. They're not gonna do much in playoffs. Like I said, I've watched every single game. And obviously, if we're gonna say, oh, the Knicks are a good team, I want you to go through every single game from game 1 versus Cavaliers, who are actually now playing the Eastern Conference, which is crazy. That game to the last game we played versus Philly. And tell me, are we a bad team? Are we a bad team? Yeah, we had that pretty bad game stretch when we lost like 9 games in January. We had a few bad games in February and maybe December. But overall, you can see the potential with this team. Way better than last season. A deeper bench. When one man goes down, another man steps up. When OG was hurt, Mikal Bridges stepped up. a guy who's received a lot of criticism in the Atlanta series. He stepped on offense and defense. And who knows if OG's fully healthy? I hate to say that coming out of my mouth. I don't know why I'm saying that. But a hamstring injury, it's confusing. He could look good. Like, he could practice pretty good and say, oh, I'm good. Then the second step on that court, everything changes. I'm praying OG is fine. I'm praying. But that's my big concern. So if OG is truly hurt and he can't play, the Knicks are going to need Mikal Bridges to continue playing at a high level. And I'm fully confident he can do that. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they started someone like Jeremy Sohan or Mohamed Diawara, because those two, they're playoff ready. Sohan is his first time in playoffs, but he can tell he's built for these moments. He's played under who I consider the best coach in NBA history, Greg Popovich. He was on that Spurs team when they were dominating the league. We blew them out twice. Wait, no, once, but we beat them in the NBA Cup. So whoever we play, I don't care who we play. I'm not gonna say the finals yet, but if we really want to be a championship team, we gotta play the toughest teams. So I didn't care who we played in the conference finals. I want to play the Pistons, but they lost, so nothing we can do about that. But if we were playing Pistons, I still think we win. I stand by what I say. The playoffs, they're different. They're way different. They're not the regular season. I'm telling you, look at the Detroit Pistons. I've been saying from day one, they're not built for the big playoff moments. They're not. They almost lost to the Orlando Magic. And if they lost to the Orlando Magic, that might go down as one of the worst first seeds in NBA history. If not, probably top 3. We remember like the Cleveland Cavaliers last season, the Milwaukee Bucks a few seasons ago when they lost to Miami Heat in the first round, who just won a playing game. That would have been bad for the Detroit Pistons. And I kept saying it. They were clowning us. Yeah, they blew us out 3 times. The regular season is way different than the playoffs. You see it from the Knicks. I keep telling you, the Knicks, they're built for these moments. One of the most historic teams in NBA history. Madison Square Garden. They're built for this. So I hope to see everyone at game 1 versus the Cavaliers. It is at home, by the way. It's at home, so we're going to need that energy. And the Cavaliers, they don't want us going to their arena. That they may be in Ohio, but Knicks fans, they always find a way. I wouldn't be surprised if I turn the game on for game 3 and I see the arena chanting "Let's go Knicks" and booing the Cleveland Cavaliers. I won't be surprised. I'm telling you, Knicks fans, they play a huge role in team success. They support us no matter what, no matter how bad we play. They're gonna travel. They're gonna spend all their money on us, and the day we win that championship, you better look. New York, better watch out. You better watch out if we win that championship, because I don't think New York is gonna be. New York can't even if you ask me. I think it may be over if we win a championship. But obviously, we're going to take one game at a time. Let's stay humble. The Cavaliers, they're a great team. They are a great team. Let's be realistic. We're not going to sweep them. We're going to beat them in possibly 6 games. I don't want to go to 7. That's too stressful for me. But like I said, we got trap James Harden. Play some really good defense. And if OG is hurt, Mikal Bridges, you got to step up. And Cat, Brunson, role players, continue to play well. And if your name is called up, you got to make sure to be ready. That's all I'm going to say in today's episode. I'm glad to be back. I will be uploading almost every day. I will be uploading after every single game in the Eastern Conference Finals. So stay tuned for that. My name is Vigo Sports Talk, host of Vigo Talks Knicks. And I'll see you next episode, Knicks fans. Let's go Knicks to the finals, baby. Let's go.